Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Philippe, and here's what he has to say. Hey Sandman, I've been stuck in a relationship with a girl for 6 years, and for the past 3 it's been because of the daughter that we have together. For the past 2 years she's been trying to kick me out and making my life a living hell. We are not married but what is called common law in Quebec. I love my daughter and I wish to remain in her life. I dream of just leaving, getting my own place, but I also don't want to lose the rights to my little girl. My main issue is scheduling. I work full-time, and if my girl didn't live with me, I have no idea how I'd spend any time with her. I guess I would try and get weekend custody, but I want to be more involved in her life. So for now, I'm actually stuck with a woman who is just horrible yet can be nice sometimes. All for the sake of my daughter. Do you really have any help for me? Well, Philippe, thanks for your donation as well as your topic request. First of all, the fact that you're in Quebec, Canada, is probably the reason she hasn't kicked you out by now. I have a sneaky suspicion that she doesn't actually want you gone because if you move out, then you're no longer responsible for paying any of the bills in the household. However, if she really wants you gone, then she probably would have already lined up another guy to support her as well as your daughter. With regards to the fact that she can be horrible sometimes and nice at other times, that's women for you. Considering the fact that she's a French-Canadian woman, it makes sense that she would be running hot and cold or two-faced. I've also wondered what types of dynamics with regards to money would be in play when a woman can't get access to alimony money. Philippe, you say that she wants to kick you out, but it sounds like her threats are just as empty as a farting vagina. If the woman wants you gone, don't you think that it would have happened by now? My assessment of the situation is this, that this woman knows that if she kicks you out, she's probably not going to find a replacement that's as high status as you are. But she doesn't want to let you know that, and she's also highly frustrated in this particular situation. So the two-faced routine is there to mess you up emotionally, and she knows that you love your daughter, so she knows that she can emotionally abuse you forever. You're going to take it. I used to think that having a family in a common law arrangement would actually be a good thing because then the woman wouldn't be able to leave you and she'd have to behave herself. Now I see that I was wrong. Just because the woman stays with you doesn't mean she's not going to express her frustrations and make life a living hell for you. I know with my parents, my mother isn't 100% happy, and because of that, she's constantly nagging and not giving my father any peace of mind. He takes it because it's pretty much tradition. I guess that's the way things were back in the days before no-fault divorce. The woman would bitch and complain saying that she was going to leave, but she never really meant it, and it was just an emotional jab at you to make you feel bad. You, the man, felt bad, and the only way to restore force back then was basically to plant 5 across the eyes like James Bond. Forget about what JC would do, simply think about what JB would do. Alphabetically JB comes before JC, but that's a story for another day. Also, I don't actually tolerate any types of violence, but in the past men would actually physically control a hot woman by cooling her off, as I mentioned, with 5 across the eyes, and society saw that as perfectly normal and fine. It wasn't my fault, that's just the way things were. As for you, Philippe, it's like you're living in a sort of hybrid system where the power is more balanced than it would be in the rest of Canada. You can't hit her or do anything violent to her, and I'm not advocating that you do that, but at the same time she can't divorce you and take you to the cleaners. There's basically checks and balances. Your common law wife is not happy about the situation, and neither you. It's kind of like a staring competition, and I guess time will tell who wins. With regards to seeing your daughter, you're probably not going to like me saying this, but the best thing you can do is stay with your crazy common law wife and stand up to her a bit. Don't let her walk all over you. That will teach your daughter to subconsciously seek out a man that's very similar to you. A man that won't let himself get walked all over. Someone that'll tell her no from time to time. If you don't do that and she sees you kowtowing to everything her mother asks of you, then one day when she gets a boyfriend or husband, on that day she's going to seek out a weak man and be unhappy with him and constantly nag him instead of finding a guy that's going to put her in her place. Speaking about guys that put women in their place, I was recently watching a film called The Girl on the Train, and it's based on a book that was written by a female author, and there are a lot of spoilers ahead. Just so that everyone knows, it's not really anything worth watching, so I'm saving you roughly 2 hours of agony. In the film, 3 women are all obsessed with the same alpha male. One of them is the old wife, which has basically been discarded. The second woman is his current wife, and they actually have a kid together. And the third is the nanny that's actually cheating on his new wife. He's an authoritative kind of guy that humiliates them and uses them sexually and treats them all like a jerk. Yet all 3 women are absolutely obsessed with this guy. That's the female mind in action. Far too often it fixates on the good-looking guy that treats them like shit, and that's who they want and who they obsess over. I believe that's the closest that women come to love. Their obsession with mean and successful alpha male brutes. With regards to your wife, Philippe, she's two-faced. Most women are two-faced because they show their husbands one face when they're married, and then they show the guy a different face when they get divorced. Thank you for sharing what happens when a woman lives in a financial situation where she doesn't have full financial control. She becomes two-faced and then does it out in the open. I believe that what you're experiencing is probably what a so-called normal and healthy relationship is supposed to look like. Constant shit testing, you constantly have to put those fires out, or they race wild and burn everything to a crisp. The most successful relationships are the ones where the man is always trying to put a woman's fires out. When he does, she's happy for a few brief hours, and then she's at him again and he needs to yell and scream at her once again. The cycle keeps going on and on forever, and I've seen some men keep a woman under control for many decades. It's like he has to prove his masculinity over and over again constantly. It's like when Bart Simpson pisses off Homer Simpson, and then Homer chases him around the house while Bart is absolutely 100% happy. Of course, Bart could be nice to Homer, but why would he? He gets far more entertainment testing Homer and over again and watching his blood boil over constantly. He doesn't seem to care that his father might get high blood pressure or that he might drop dead from a heart attack. That's the same type of behavior I see in so many women. It's like a tap of cold and hot running water. Let's say a woman is running hot and pissed off at something her man did or didn't do. He snaps back and yells at her to leave him alone and perhaps even rectifies the situation. She then calms down and everything seems fine for a while. Then a short while later, she's at it again, questioning his competence and pissing him off. That's what I believe is happening to you, Philippe. If you leave her and you can no longer take the horrible abuse, then you failed a shit test. But you pass it every time by sticking around for the sake of your daughter. Your choice is basically live alone with your little visitation rights with your daughter, and that's not going to make you happy. Or live with her and the mommy monster that's occasionally nice to you. Either way, you're not going to be happy, and it's crazy how many questions I get from people asking me what they should do in this particular type of no-win scenario. Either way, you're going to be missing something important in your life. If you ditch crazy, then you also ditch the daughter. If you stay with crazy, then you get to keep your daughter. My suggestion is perhaps move into a place where you have more personal space and where boundaries between your space and the common law wife's are better defined. But I'm sure that the house or apartment you guys are in right now is probably completely taken over by wifey, so you're probably out of luck there as well. Maybe the two of you could get separate apartments right next to each other, that way you can spend just as much time as possible with your daughter. I find that's generally a lot easier with regards to visiting family and friends if you're only a few doors down or in the same neighborhood. Once you move away to a medium or long distance, then things become incredibly inconvenient with regards to visitation. Maybe you could rent a house and half the house could be your common law wife space and the other half yours, and your daughter could pretty much have free reign like a chicken and go wherever she wants. When you move in with someone, it really destroys the closeness that you might have enjoyed and had once upon a time in that relationship. If both of you start off living together and then you get your own apartments, then you really start to see if the other person you were living with was actually worth it. People start living apart and then they move in together and eventually hate one another. I wonder how many people have decided to get their own places after living together and realizing that it doesn't work, and then their relationship improves as a result. Philippe, maybe your partner would be less of a monster and nicer if you weren't around because she might actually appreciate having you around in the first place. Hopefully that gives you another potential option to take into consideration. Your two-faced Teresa, or whatever her name is, might actually mellow out if you're not around as much and she has a little bit more personal space. I think your fear of not being able to see your daughter is a little bit overblown because in Quebec, correct me if I'm wrong, you still have to pay child support to a former common-law spouse if you actually have a child with them, but there's no alimony payments required. I think you really need to look on the bright side of your particular situation. You've been given two choices and you won't like making either of them. But just imagine if you were in the rest of Canada and your common-law wife kicked you out and you were forced to pay both alimony and child support and you still couldn't see your kid. I respect Quebec for choosing to stay under those old Napoleonic codes, otherwise the birth rates in Quebec would probably be worse than they really are. The reason for that is, as I said, a guy can have kids and not get married and it protects him more than it does in other provinces. But as we all know, laws can change, and now in British Columbia, common law couples, for all intents and purposes, are seen as married even if they legally aren't. You think you're getting the milk for free, but the state sends you a bill for the cow if you're not careful. With regards to women being two-faced, they usually have to present themselves as socially acceptable in public, while at the same time when they're in private it's completely different. It pisses me off to see how women treat their men nicely in public when other people are watching to make it seem as though the man is fortunate to be with her. But the moment they get home, she throws a tantrum and shames him. My parents have been in that situation for as far as I can remember. There's one public face and one private face. Women always have a hard time understanding that my public and private personalities are the same. I don't try harder when I'm around other people than when I was only around my girlfriends. This really messed up my ex because it forced her to do the same thing that I did. She had the same quiet, submissive-sounding personality with me when we were in private as well as in public. But when she was around alone with her friends and I wasn't around, then she could pretty much project a personality that resembled her more closely. It confused the hell out of them. Now I recognize that she had to maintain her persona around me at all times, otherwise I would have seen through the cracks and eventually seen the real person underneath. People wonder why I was in a relationship for 10 years without going crazy, and the reason for that is my partner worked extremely hard to be a perfect chameleon, because she was afraid of ending up all alone if she upset me. One time she downloaded a virus onto my computer and pretty much killed it, and she thought I was going to dump her over something as stupid as that. She was perfect at hiding the two-faced nature of a woman. I've never seen a female chameleon stay in character for that period of time. Whenever she didn't like what I was doing, she would just get passive-aggressive. All women are two-faced, some just hide it better than others. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Philippe, for your donation as well as your topic. Please smash the like button below this video, as well as check out the MGTOW mystery link. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the nagging French females away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.